proper science. So we basically need to know what's going on before we go and start making decisions on how to deal with it. Construction and development isn't always as responsible as it probably ought to be in the past, more than it is currently. And large inputs of sediment, which basically make the water less clear than it's supposed to be, and that affects the growth and the functionality of the general ecosystem. And of course, trash, plastic packaging, chubby bottles, ladder bags, fishing lines, shoes, disposable cups, plastic straws, tarpaulins, refrigerators, dead dogs, old underwear, diapers, parachutes. And at the end of the day, disease. A lot of this stuff has human inputs to it, which is either chemically damaging to the marine environment or actually has human disease involved with it. Animals will often consume these things, either poisoning themselves directly, choking and starving, or generally having trouble with that. Or an interesting thing specific to turtles, not completely specific to turtles, because there's a lot of things that do eat jellyfish fairly specifically. A turtle's it eats jellyfish and sponges and things that generally taste bad or sting you, so they haven't got a lot of taste buds. And if you eat jellyfish and you're swimming along in the sea and you see floating in the sea a bread bag, for example, it looks like a jellyfish, so you eat it. Now the reason why turtles were so important in places like Cayman 300 years ago was because you can take a turtle out of the sea, a large turtle, you can put it down in the hold of your ship where it stays cool, and that turtle will survive for a year as fresh meat. Now this isn't something I would want anybody to go out and do today, because we haven't got a lot of turtles left. But this is something that was true. Now a turtle going along that eats a bread bag, thinking it's a jellyfish, they'll swallow it, and that can bind up in the stomach and keep that turtle from being able to eat anymore, or just generally causing it a great deal of discomfort. It'll take up to a year for that turtle to die, which is kind of a depressing way to look at it, but it is true. Oh, I heard somebody say this a while ago. I'm no engineer, but I know that things flow downhill. Now all roads and gullies lead to the sea and carry any upstream trash with them. I mean, gully's always going to go downstream. It's always going to go down. And at least as far, though, as coming down to the marine park or the marine environment, which is, at the end of the day, the end receiver for all of this stuff. It takes a chubby bottle, for example, more than 500 years to break down. From our experience, right behind our office is the South Gully with a sediment trap on it. It does seem to be working quite well. We don't get a lot of junk coming out behind our office into the Pier 1 harbour area. However, the North Gully, as we saw yesterday, is a wonderful source of all sorts of goodies.
I'm asking today that as all of us who are in the solid waste industry gathers together and the papers are presented, that it not just be a formality, that we not just sit down and have a nice 2 days and the papers go forth and the papers sound pretty nice, but that we'll actually listen to the information that's coming to you, and that those of us who have the potential or the opportunity to make a difference actually implement what's going to be done.
Each of these ministries and their associated agencies would not necessarily set up a licensing regime for the movement of hazardous waste or medical waste or solid waste. You'd have all of that residing in the Solid Waste Management Authority. So you wouldn't set up multiple government bureaucracies or agencies to deal with the same thing.
I am the Chief Public Health Inspector. I was referred to as a doctor. Let me just correct that. Inadequate management of solid waste presents significant concerns born from the severity of their impacts and the challenges which they present. Anybody recognize that street or that situation? I mean, that is a serious challenge for us. If you notice, it's not very clear, but there's a no dumping sign right here. It's saying no dumping. Rats may seriously damage electrical and telephone cables, resulting in fires, destroying many buildings and human lives. They also cause deterioration and contamination of food. And look at this. They produce very, very quickly. 6 to 12 pups per litter, and a couple of rats may have up to 10,000 offsprings per year.
Outside of Portmore, the city of Montego Bay is the fastest growing metropolitan area in Jamaica. Over the past 10 years, we have experienced unprecedented infrastructure development. Along with tremendous investment in our physical and social infrastructure, there are some equally serious challenges. We have developed a culture of informality, increased marginalization, and consequently unacceptable levels of crime and violence, environmental degradation, high levels of HIV/AIDS, the prevalence of deportees, homeless persons, and of course the issue for which we are here today, the indiscriminate disposal of solid waste. Close to Aquasol, a major public beach. Not far from the famous Doctor's Cave, we have a major stormwater drain in North Gully that has no paternity. While the St. James Parish Council is seeking funding for its maintenance, the National Work Agency is denying responsibility while the drain is fast becoming a reservoir for solid waste. Can we agree that the maintenance or the responsibility of the drain is that of the St. James Parish Council? And I'm not saying this to blood the Parish Council, because the Parish Council cannot carry out their responsibility without the appropriate financial resources. It means, therefore, that those who are owners of land should now pay the requisite tax, and we need a partnership strategy to develop this approach to address the issue of solid waste management. Can we agree that it is the responsibility of the National Works Agency to complete the drain with the appropriate silt traps, that we in the NGO community launch a major public education program that will bring the people into co-management of their respective communities, and that the donor communities will give support to local initiatives. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Now, when we think about the rural communities, what comes to mind? You know, we think, oh, I heard somebody said country. Yes. We think about the green, you know, the lush green fields. We think about the forests and, you know, clean flowing rivers. However, the reality is, in a number of these communities, garbage can be seen in our gullies, the rivers, roadsides, open areas. The result of all of this is that it doesn't look good at all. It contaminates our water. It's a major attraction for pests. Health hazard, as Mr. Clark spoke about earlier, and people are unaware of the dangers of the improper disposal of garbage. What has been done? Now, the Montego Bay Marine Park, in collaboration with the Rich to Reef Watershed Project, have been in 17 of these communities in the Great River Watershed, where we have an educational program that we call the River Action with the Action Boys. We're using drama to educate people on the various environmental issues. The good news is, though, that people do not like the garbage around, and they want to see it go away. And they will help to clean up the act if all of us can work together. Thank you very much.
My focus is on the same situation that Heather was talking about. She spoke about what she observed and what she saw. I want to focus more on what can we do with what she's seen and to try and help the situation. Composting, mulching, charcoaling of prunings. I mean, why is all that stuff reaching the landfill? I don't know. I mean, you can go to Shields and Shields to buy mulch that's imported from overseas. I cannot understand that. And then there are very good examples of recycling going on, but they're the bottles. How many Red Stripe bottles do you find in the ocean? How many D&G bottles do you find in the ocean? Cable and Wireless is now recycling phone books. The plastic companies are internally recycling their plastics when they spoil tanks. I mean, those kind of things happen, and it's just for us to think about.